Welcome to WYCE's Community Close-Up. Community Close-Up is our weekly public affairs program produced in partnership with the Rapidian, a hyper-local news service of the Grand Rapids Community Media Center. Community Close-Up brings you a diverse perspective from community leaders throughout West Michigan. I'm your host, John Rummery. It's my pleasure to welcome you to our program this week, Pablo Garcia, the Executive Director of SECOM Resource Center. Hello, Pablo.
Hey, good afternoon. It's good to be here. It's good to see you guys. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, understand you've been on this show before.
Yeah, it's been a little bit, but I figured it was time to let people see where we're going.
All right, well, let's get everybody caught up, kind of a level playing field. If you could just talk a little bit about your mission and the history about your organization.
Yeah, so SECOM has existed since 1971. We're a key resource that gives help and hope to our neighbors by empowering families to achieve their full potential through healthy living, education, and economic opportunities. We aspire to give help and hope to our community, and we do that through food insecurity. We have been the premier food pantry in the 49507 for over 50 years, and we're looking forward to the future.
You mentioned food insecurity, and I know that you work within this industry, within this sector, but for people that might not be familiar with that term, can you talk a little bit about what food insecurity is?
Yeah, so I think some statistics that were released even like last year was 1 in 7 children in Kent County go without food every night, which is an insane statistic if you really think about how many children and how our public schools look here in Grand Rapids. But we just want to serve the community that just can't do it. Maybe they can't work for whatever reason. They're hurt, they're injured. The cost of living is going up right now. So food is a high-end need right now. So for us, specifically in the community that we serve, we're a food desert. So that means that local groceries, local fresh produce is hard to come by. It's very spread out throughout the zip code. So we try to bridge that gap for the community. They can come to us once a month, but there's such a need right now.
Yeah, so your organization's been around since 1971. Are there trends that are, I'm just curious about is it acute right now, food insecurity maybe versus pre-COVID or 10 years ago? Have you seen anything? And if so, what are some of the factors contributing to an increase in that?
Yeah, I would say, I don't know if there's full trends. I don't have the graphics in front of me, but I would say that right now we are seeing prices go up. Across the board, I think a year ago we were paying $7 a dozen for eggs, right? And a family of 4, single parent earner, they're not going to be able. They might not be able to afford eggs, a dozen eggs at that time for that price. And then healthy produce is just going up. I don't know if you've been to the market lately, but I know that if you go to certain stores, it is much more expensive to get access to those kinds of fresh produce, which is why we buy so much. We believe we live in consumerism, right? We have to purchase the fast meal, and that's not a bad thing. People need to be fed. But at the end of the day, having access to health and fresh food is quite difficult in this day and age.
Yeah, I can't imagine anybody that would go shopping and not feel that pinch. It's pretty obvious. It's not just 1 or 2 cents for things going up. They seem to be really shocking a little bit, how costly it is for groceries. So,
well, and then we're talking about the cost of living in Grand Rapids. The median. What is the median price? Isn't it $1,200 or so per month for a studio apartment on a base level? And then I know there's wonderful low-income apartments that are happening in the city right now too, but for someone on SSI and disability, it's not easy then to pick up on fresh produce or fresh food. They really have to be creative, and I'm glad that SECOM can serve to be a part of that, because it is beneficial for the neighbors to know that we exist and that we're here and we're willing to help you in our zip code. As I stated earlier, being a food desert really means that there is a tougher pinch, I think, for the community, especially if there's no bus line, no transportation to get there. On the days that we're open, especially, it's quite difficult.
All right, I know that you rely on probably multiple revenue streams to support your work. To be able to provide food for these families. Just take me on this little journey. You heard of restaurants like farm to table. How does produce get to SECOM and then ultimately get to the families and the children that need that food, in terms of like, how can donations help that?
Yeah. So I'm actually really grateful to the listeners of WYCE. So I've actually had a lot of people reach out to me in the last few months, I think since the last interview. And we have been working with different groups and different organizations to get donations. So if you grow and you have an abundance of fresh produce and things like that, you can bring them to us when we're open any day, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to noon or 3, just depending on the day. But how that process works is you reach out typically to me, it goes through my email, and then I will reach back out. We will schedule a time. We'll put it in the pantry. We'll weigh it. We do the tracking for my bookkeeper, which makes her day happy. And then we take it into the pantry if it's, as long as it's ready and good to go. For us, when our clients come in, we want to welcome them in with grace and kindness and compassion, understanding that it's hard to ask for help. Being a young Latino man, for myself, or looking back in my family, it was always quite difficult to ask for help. So seeing that from the other lens, we actually have enough volunteers currently that are walking with our clients. So they get to shop on a point-based system that we have created, and they get someone to walk alongside them to get the food that they want. It's not, here's a box of food and you didn't get to pick any of it. It's, what produce do you want in your house? What grains do you want in your house? Are there specific meats that you want in your house? We get to help them choose that for themselves. It's like going to a free grocery store for a little bit.
That's awesome. Hypothetically, just make sure I understood you. Like if I have a backyard garden and my tomatoes are going nuts and I have an overabundance, is that something I could share with your organization? Absolutely.
We are always looking for newer or just different opportunities. So I'm willing to drive or have my staff drive to pick up wherever. We actually, even yesterday, we picked up 500 pounds worth of beans and rice from a woman out in Zealand. She had posted on Facebook, and I said, hey, can I go pick it up? And she said, yep, come get it. So I said, cool.
That's terrific. I don't know a backyard gardener that is overwhelmed with tomatoes, green beans, and zucchini this time of the year. I mean, it's hard to imagine that there's not surplus. So it's terrific to have opportunities to share that produce.
Yeah. And I will say too, we do spend money. Like it's not, we're not just relying on these donations. We do work with local farms. Recently, we just partnered with Mesa Farm out in Hudsonville, and they had amazing zucchinis, green beans. Their jalapenos were spicy. When you open the box, it hit you. It was just a force, and but it smelled so good, and we've already gone through most of it, and it's insane how much we've actually gone through already, because being in the zip code where we're at and being in the neighborhood that we're in, we cater to the community that we're in. So we see a lot of Hispanic people, a lot of immigrant people. So we really focus on their wants and needs, but we're open to anybody and anything. So
besides providing healthy food, from markets, farm markets, are there other services you would like to talk about to our listeners that you provide that might surprise people?
Yeah, so I think we talked about this a little bit because we hadn't opened it yet, but we have been running a little thrift store. When people donate clothes, everyone is tired of the big stores, the big thrift stores, I think, in the country, because thrifting is popular right now. It's cool, right? After COVID, it became the thing. So people can bring us clothes, house goods, kitchen goods, and you can choose when you get to us if you'd like us to donate it and give it away for free, or if you allow us to sell it. We're not charging $6 a t-shirt. We're charging $1 a shirt, $1 a pair of clothes. Most things are $1 in our thrift store. That has been one of the coolest things to see. Like people come in, we'll do $5 fill bags every other week or so, and people get so excited to look for treasures.
Yeah, as a father of 3, kind of a young adults, thrifting is hot. I mean, they love to thrift. They go on family trips, and we go to the thrift stores now in other cities. So it's pretty cool. All right, let's talk about now. You have our listeners. You mentioned that our listeners have already been involved with your organization, but what would be your call to action to people listening to this podcast?
I think that people have been listening. I think the frustration happening in our current country is making people listen instead of just talking at each other or talking about helping. I think we're starting to see some old mindsets of we need to help our neighbor. I don't know if you've noticed that, but I've definitely noticed that in the work that we do. But I also think it's really important to remember that the nonprofits exist to support the community that maybe can't afford or has a need, or when you're down on your luck because you can't find a job. Like, we're there to support that piece. Not just like for us in food, but just someone to have to listen to, someone to talk to. Like, we want that too. I think it's really important. Something that it's definitely a hot take in the nonprofit field, but when we get like cash donations or we get check donations, a lot of the things they'll tell us what those donations are for, but some people get offended and get upset with us if we're not using it for like the entirety of that check. For example, say I got a $2,000 check. It said for food. I have staff to pay. I have overhead. I have lights to keep on. I have watering to do in our garden. Like, some of that does have to go to making sure that I have the effective staff to do the work that we're doing, or else nothing's going to happen well.
Yeah, I find that to be a really big kind of I won't say a misunderstanding or just not understood very well about people working with nonprofits, is that money that goes to operations is critical. It's as critical as the direct service to the people that come for your services. But you need people to provide services to the people. You need facility to work and all sorts of things like that.
Correct. I'm not a one-man band.
Right.
As much as I wish I was Superman.
You're probably like a two-man band. You probably do 100 different things. So, but I can appreciate that too. Before we get into like kind of our final thoughts about how people can connect with you and where they can get more information, what else? I mean, is there anything I missed that we didn't cover during this interview that you'd like to share? Yeah,
so I wanted to use this interview kind of as a moment to share something that's really big that's happening for SECOM. We are moving out of our 1545 Buchanan building. We are keeping the garden, which is 4,500 square feet, and it's beautiful. If you have not made it out there, please come visit us. It is gorgeous. Kevon Hess, our garden lead, has done an amazing job. It looks so good. And not without volunteers. You know, we've had amazing volunteers this year. We are keeping that green space so we can continue growing for our pantry. But SECOM is moving. We've been in the building now for 32 years, in this building specifically. So this is the next chapter of SECOM we're preparing for right now, because we're going to be taking our pantry on the road. I don't know if you know how long the 49507 is. It's about 6 miles wide. So we cover from Hall Street to 28th Street, from 131 to Patterson, past the Beltline, because we also cover the 49546. So anyone from those zip codes can come to us. So we're moving to a centralized location, but we won't be doing the pantry directly out of there. We're doing it one day a week from there. Truly, the work that's going to change SECOM as an organization is that we're taking this pantry and we're going to take it to the road. I've started conversations with amazing churches in the community who want to back this, who want to support this, and who think this is a great idea. We're going to the people. I'm tired personally with where our building is, because we're not on the bus line. This new building will be. This new building will take us to the churches that are on the bus line. And we're going to set up our mobile pantry the same way that we have our pantries now, where there will be volunteers to walk. There will be someone to check in with you. There will be someone to walk with you, to shop. We are so excited about this opportunity. It's something so different. You know, there's mobile pantries across the country, and there's a lot of those are done with boxes, or I saw one in Maine that had like a food truck where you ordered. And that's really cool. And then they give you like what you ordered. But with us, we're going to set up with our little SECOM van, and we're going to be looking for partners for that, you know, coming to volunteer with us. The church can give us people, and that's wonderful too. And the volunteers we already have that are committed to the work that we're doing. But how cool is it to go to the people instead of the people just coming to you all the time?
That's terrific. And of everything we talked about, that's probably the biggest news that you shared. I mean, we loved hearing your history and what you're doing, but this big move, and in the words of Willie Nelson, on the road again, right? I mean, you're going to go on the road and you're going to take the services to where people are. And I think that's terrific. Yeah, thank you. I am very excited. I took a long time to research how to do this. Right. And we're going to hit hiccups along the way. We're going to run out of food quickly sometimes, you know, because I think something that, as we talk about food insecurity, right now we're seeing such an abundance of people. Our pantry has been nonstop from 9 to 3 the last 3 weeks, and we're only open 3 days a week. So we are feeling it. My staff go on their lunch break. We feel it because then we walk out and there's a lobby full of people. It's crazy to see the pantry filled in that way.
And I don't know if you've been to like the Feeding America mobile trucks or seen them, but like those lines get very long, or sometimes you're waiting in like rows of 4 or 5 lines of 6 cars. You know, those are crazy. So I can only imagine what it's going to do for us when we're meeting people where they are. But even outside of that too, just thinking of the communities we serve, you know, like I said earlier, we hit a lot of immigrant populations. That is a big thing for us. And even at the beginning of this year, we saw a lot of fear in our community. We saw a huge dip for a good portion of this year because of people being afraid to go out of their houses. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't know how openly I can talk about this, but like there's fear that ICE will come to pantries or to spaces where people exist or existing. And we're seeing that in full force at SECOM right now. And it's terrifying. It's hard to see our neighbors that we used to see weekly just not show up because they don't know if that'll be the day they get picked up or their kids won't have a parent the next day. Like the time we're in right now is so crazy, and it hurts so bad to see our neighbors hurting. And how can we bridge that gap? And I think going mobile will be a way to do that. And outside of that, you know, we'll throw in some deliveries here and there too where we can safely. You know, I wanted to bring that up because I think people need to recognize that even if it's just playing on fear, like things are happening in this community that we need to be aware of. Everyone needs to be aware of, and we need to learn how to do it together because we're not anything if we're not together.
Well, we're basically out of time, but I really appreciate you sharing everything about SECOM. Thank you, Pablo, Executive Director of SECOM Resource Center. For more information, secomministries.org. On Facebook, your SECOM Ministries. Is there any other way that people can engage?
They can just reach out to me, director at secomministries.org.
Director at secomministries.org.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you. And you've been listening to WYCE's Community Close-Up, a weekly public affairs program produced in partnership with the Rapidian, a hyperlocal news service of the Grand Rapids Community Media Center. This is WYCE's John Rummery. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.